Hey guys, Doug Childs here, Little Warriors and Wildmen action with my good buddy, Rich Whitmer. Rich, what's shaking, big dog?
What's happening, Doug? Excited to be here, ready to do another awesome episode of Warriors and Wildmen.
The hope stuff, man, is huge, and I won't go into personal detail, but there's things that I've done and things that I've had done to me. And the thing that pulled me out of both of them is this thing called hope. And I know we talked about it when we did the podcast on my eagle painting, where in Isaiah 40 it says, even the young men grow weary, strong men, they get wiped out. And Isaiah said, yet those who wait upon the Lord shall get new strength, they'll get new power, They'll rise up with wings as a quail. No, I'm sorry, an eagle, a bird of prey. The most awesome bird of prey on the planet, by the way. So the point is, in the word wait in the Hebrew means hope. And the word hope, when you deep dive it, it means to intertwine with God. And so the point is that when, and again, Isaiah's saying, hey, listen, young people, they get devastated. Strong guys, they get floored. And he said the key to hitting new strength, hitting that grace groove like never before, hitting the new power is hope. And hope isn't that which you don't see. It's conviction and stuff that you can't tangibly put your hands on. But it's a belief in that what God said, his promises, which, by the way, were punctuated by the blood of his son, are real and steadfast, no matter if you're in the shittiest, unbelievably, I can't understand what is happening to me or what I did to me. God says in those kind of crap storms and festivals, intertwine with me, hope in me, and you're going to run and not grow weary, which is weird. You're going to walk and not faint, and you're going to become a predatory bird that can do deep dives at 150 to 200 miles an hour, and you're not going to be eating seed. You're going to be picking up deer and killing coyotes, and you're going to be ruling the roost if, in this downturn, you don't abandon hope, because hope's the anchor of the soul, and when that anchor is not down and it's not latched to the rock, which is Christ, you're going to drift, man. And hope
that's good.
Is humongous, buddy.
Hope is, Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And then when you put it with verse 7 in the same chapter, you could say faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. So there are things that we're gonna see, and that's what hope is. That's what faith is. Right. It's hope. And what the devil will do is the devil can't get your faith, but he can get your hope. And how does he get your hope? Life circumstances, attack, even Doug, he can steal your hope by when you do something wrong, bringing guilt, condemnation, even after you've repented. You can't break free from it. And he robs your hope. And when he's got your hope, he's got your faith. You can't believe, if you have no hope, that God is going to show up or for your situation. And so some of the things that can help us, when we look at Jonah disobeyed God. He ran away. And when you read in the story, you've heard it before, he goes down from the mountain, down to the docks, down into the boat, and in the boat he goes down into the bottom of the boat. His life just keeps going down as soon as he leaves God. And the next thing you know, there's a storm, so they throw him down into the water, and then he's swallowed by a big fish that takes him down to the bottom of the ocean. It's all down, like it's all downhill, right? And he gets down there, he's laying there in the belly of the fish, and is like, well, you know what? My life is over, but I'll tell you, I got one thing. I'm going to worship God. And you have to believe that there's no way that he thought he was getting out of there.
He's in stomach acids, man.
But you know what he's thinking? I love God, and I'm going to worship. And when he worships, what happens? The fish swims up, goes up on the beach, throws him up.
Hell
he goes
buddy.
up into the town. Everything's going up.
Yeah,
everything's changing. Now he goes up on top of the mountain, and he sits down and starts thinking with his negative thinking. He gets all depressed again, and God smacks him again. But that's all. We didn't have to hear the rest of that story. But the reality is this: no matter how down you are, one of the ways to get out of depression is to worship. And David said that. Where did he say that about his soul?
Yeah, Psalm 42.
And he says, why are you so downcast?
Why are you downcast?
Oh, my soul.
Right.
And he says, I will yet praise him. I will put my hope in God. And there it is right there. Worship and hope. And really, even doctors will tell you that a positive outlook and hope that things can change. Yeah. Now, look, we put that in the spiritual. We know that. And look, the brain looks different to scientists in a PET scan depending on its mood. So we know that the spiritual affects the natural. You need to get people around you. You have to have people. You cannot be by yourself in the dark with all the blinds closed. I've been there, Doug. I've been like that. I don't want to be around anybody. And that's when you need to be around somebody.
Yeah, and if people say, well, you're quoting the Bible, and you have no idea what I'm going through, man. You have no idea my difficulty. Well, God told Abraham, first of all, yes, we do. We've seen it all, you pussy. All right? God told Abraham when he was like 90-ish, that he's going to be the father of many nations.
Yeah.
And it says in Romans 4, in hope against hope. He didn't have sperm. I guarantee his penis hadn't been saluting anything, Sarah, any other girl for probably about 20 plus years. He had hope that he would rise again, that his boys would swim, and that Sarah's 90-year-old dead vajayjay is going to spit out a kid. And that's how, to me, the thing that I like about that example in Romans 4, so bleak, so impossible, and yet the promise comes.
Yeah.
And so we can choose like, oh no, it's not for me. Look at my body, it's good as dead. It says Abraham didn't even consider
that his body was dead. That's right. He didn't even consider it.
He said he considered the promise.
The one
and folks,
who was able to keep the promise.
Folks, listen. If you think Rich and I, dwell in clouds of pixie dust and candy canes, you're freaking crazy. This stuff that we're talking about, hoping against hope and standing when everything in you wants to fold up like a cheap lawn chair, is stuff that we've practiced for many years. And I got to tell you, man, Rich and our audience, I've been young and I've been old, and I've never seen God forsake His people.
That's right.
Never.
No, that's
absolutely not.
And
I've been through some shitstorm of astronomical. You can't even imagine proportion, personally, financially. When we were attacked by CNN and everybody during Acorn's investigation that Hannah did. You can't imagine the stuff that we went through. It wasn't war. We didn't have bullets shot at us. We didn't have kids killed. But it was a cluster, of ginormous proportions. So we're not talking from some little ivory tower about, be chipper, young lad. Don't be sad, lassie. No, we're saying it's real. It's in your face. It's painful. It's depressing. But man, you hope and you scratch and you claw and you do the tooth, fang, and claw type stuff. And you grab onto God, and He'll lift you up out of that miry clay and put you on a rock, baby.
No, that's so good, Doug. And this is the verse I think that shows that God does understand and He does care. Hebrews 4:15, for we do not have a high priest, talking about Jesus, who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet He did not sin. Jesus knows how we feel. He knows what we go through. We have a high priest that can feel it, that felt it, and He cares. Yeah. That's the good thing. It's not just that He knows, He cares. And it's not just that He cares. Some people believe God could do something. Hope and faith is not that God could, it's that He will. And you know what? Yeah. You have to believe that He will. Things are not going to stay like this. And so what are we saying? You could be depressed with a cause. Maybe you've sinned. Maybe sometimes it's sin, sometimes it's just foolishness. Sometimes it's not a sin, but you did stupid things that had negative consequences. Maybe parents have been through a divorce. Maybe you've been through a divorce. Maybe somebody close to you died. Maybe you lost your job. Those things could be your fault. They might not be your fault. Could be circumstances where you're at in your life. All of those things can cause depression. Midlife crisis can cause depression. There's so many. The weather causes depression. They've proven that with statistics. So there's a lot of things that cause depression. What we need to do is be able to recognize if I'm depressed, not having a bad day, not sad for a couple days, but if I'm stuck in it. Look, if you're stuck in it, there are some things that you can do. You know what? Exercise is one of the greatest weapons against depression. And doctors say that. That's not me. That's WebMD again, and multiple doctors. 20 to 40 minutes of exercise every single day. And
Bro,
then
I
you
gotta
need to eat good. You need to sleep.
I gotta stop you right there, man. I'm not huge. I'm never gonna wear or win a bodybuilding contest. I haven't stopped exercising since I was 15. I mean, I'm talking gym stuff, bicycle stuff. And again, I've had my moments of moodiness, but man, you get out on these frickin' hot trails in Central Texas, and you blow through 30 minutes to an hour of just working that bicycle. It jacks you up, man.
Yep.
It takes you to
Your
another
body
zone.
produces the stuff that you
Absolutely.
need in your brain, Doug. In
Yeah.
your brain. That's what
Move
doctors
your
say.
body.
That's not me. That's in your brain,
Yeah,
right?
and again, we're talking. Say you're not Schwarzenegger or any of these other big MMA or UFC guys. Just walk. Just
Yep.
get off your ass and just frickin' putt around. You know.
Well, you know who Nate
Get it.
Diaz or Nick Diaz is, right? The Diaz brothers in the UFC. I met
Yeah.
him and great fighters, and they're triathletes on top of that. And I was talking to Nick Diaz, and he told me, he said, "Don't ever do cardio in the gym, man. That's the most boring thing ever. Make you never want to go back." He said, "You live in Arizona, get a mountain bike, jump on a bike, take off for 30 minutes, and when you get 30 minutes, turn around, come back. Just
Gold.
do it every day right when you wake up." And you're talking
Yep.
about a guy who's a world-class triathlete, world-class athlete, right? So it doesn't have to be, like you said, you have to go be a bodybuilder, but you got to get your body moving because it produces the things that you need in your brain, right? And then you
Yeah.
feel better about yourself. So you got to do that. But here's another thing. You need to get your life right with the Lord. That guilt and condemnation can go away if you get surrounded with the right people. You get at a good church. They're teaching you what the Bible
Yeah, and,
says, and
and-
break off that guilt and shame, man.
And say you are the guilty, forlorn person who's just completely weighted down with stuff. Jesus, the only perfect person to slept this rock, he said in Matthew 11:29, he said, "Hey, are you burdened? Are you heavy laden?
Yep.
You know what? Come to me, and I'll take that stuff off of you."
Yep.
Cast your cares on me.
That's right.
I'll carry you. I'll shepherd you. And again, man, I've been doing this since December 7th, 1983, and it hadn't been all peachy and stuff. But man, he's fulfilled his good
That's
word
right.
to this skinny rascal.
Well, and think about this. The Bible says, if any man is in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed away. All things become new. That's available to people. And they have to understand, if you want to come out of depression, you got to get right with God. When you get right with God, say you're a Christian, you need to worship. And I'm not talking
Yeah.
about put on some worship music, which does help. But put on worship music. But I'm talking about you need to worship. You need to open your mouth. Doctors have even proven, Doug, that singing happy songs affects your brain. Guess what? Worshiping
Whistle while you
God,
work, man.
Worshiping God gets a payback. Because God
Yeah.
inhabits the praises of his people. So that'll also help. Get a group of friends around you, some Christian
Yeah.
friends, some great friends that can get you out to do some things,
Caveat.
Not religious weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beware of a lot of Christians because they'll make you depressed.
They make me depressed. That's another episode.
Yeah. Here's
But you
another
gotta
thing
eat
that.
good and get some sleep.
Here's-
Get off your freaking phones laying in your bed and go to sleep.
Here's another thing. Solomon dealt with depression. I mean, all the chicks he had, all the wives he had. It's like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Richest man ever.
And lost it all. God, just jackhammered him and stuff. In Ecclesiastes 9, I think, in a verse, it's in the first part. He talks about, hey, God gave wine to make the heart merry. Now, if you're an alcoholic, obviously don't say, okay, and just start just blowing through a case of Cabernet. But, aside from exercise and stuff, have a glass of wine, have two, take the edge off. And here's something that I've always done, man, when Doug becomes a depressed and gloomy little monkey and say that my various enterprises and passions aren't alleviating it. I watch a comedy, man.
Yeah, me too.
I watch stuff that just makes me frickin' belly laugh,
Hey,
wet my pants.
WebMD says one of the things that can boost your mood, laughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, comedy. Don't go watch some dark drama
Right.
about depressed people.
Yeah, don't watch Van Gogh's documentary.
Yeah.
And here's another thing, man. Is also if you're like depressed, and say this depression comes through you being jackhammered, and it looks like you being set back, or something that you're pursuing is now lost. Got to get back up on your feet, got to get back up on the horse, and read books or
Yep.
watch movies where the frickin' underdog is just, completely screwed, glued, and tattooed. It doesn't look like there's any visible means of support for him to get out, and yet by sheer force of will and God, he does. That kind of stuff will
Yep,
infuse
that's
adrenaline into your soul. And like, if you've read the Message translation, Hebrews 12, the writer of Hebrews said, "Listen, put your eyes on Christ.
Yep.
Behold this whole great cloud of witnesses." And he says, by focusing on what he endured and what they endured and what they accomplished, it says this will infuse adrenaline into your soul.
Oh, that's good.
Same thing for biopics. Same thing for underdog type stuff. And listen, here's something.
Watch Eddie the Eagle.
Yep. Perfect. Here's something that one of the greatest movies ever, brother. Here's something that I heard
Not
Matthew.
production-wise, just the story. But sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but just brilliant. The guy who played Eddie the Eagle is just freaking brilliant, man. But here's something that I heard Matthew McConaughey said. He was doing some grad speech. He goes, you feel like the underdog right now. Everything's stacked against you. Embrace it.
Yeah.
Life, the universe, everybody embraces the underdog. So I want you to embrace. You're the underdog. The cards are stacked against you. Embrace it and watch what happens.
Yeah, I like that. That's good
All
stuff.
right.
Come on.
Yeah, so another thing is, some of this stuff, man, and I wrote a book about it, just quit being a pussy, okay? Everybody deals with funk. I think Peter put it this way: there's nothing that's happened to you that's not common to every person on the planet. And what I do sometimes where I get, to where I'm over there in the corner sucking my thumb and wetting my big Christian diaper, it's like, you know what? The Coptic Christians are being slaughtered right now and
Yep.
the churches are being burned. Some of the persecution that's going over in the Philippines and Indonesia.
Yep.
Tough stuff, ladies and gentlemen,
right.
that some people are going through. Other folks have stage 4 cancer. Other people just lost a kid,
Yep.
to some terminal disease when he's like 2 or 3. There comes a place where we need to stop being myopic, solipsistic navel gazers and just realize that, other people have it worse than I do. And I think you mentioned earlier in the podcast about how somebody served in Bonhoeffer. He's like, hey, I'm depressed. Looks like I'm going to get strung up by Adolf. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of singing Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen, I'm going to go to work and help people. I'm going to go down to a homeless shelter. I'm going to give them my best clothes. I'm going to pump somebody else up. And I believe, who was it? Was it Spider-Man? No, it was Jesus. He said, it's in giving that you receive.
Yep.
So you want the good stuff coming back to your castle and to your life and to your soul? Then give it away, as a Red Hot Chili Pepper said, give it away now.
And I love that song. But check this out. It's funny because a lot of the reasons, causes about depression, they try to make medical. But other than drugs, all of the solutions are spiritual, whether they want to call it or not. What you were just talking about, one of the ways that you can boost your mood and get out of depression is to volunteer. And it says because in helping others, you can forget your own problems. It feels good at any age, but it may hold special benefits for older people, blah, blah, blah. The reality is what you said, that's a biblical principle. So we're not saying that, listen, I want people to understand what Doug's saying. Doug's not saying you're depressed, it's your fault, you're a baby. What Doug is saying, other people have been through harder things than you and they're making it. That's not to put you down. That's to tell you, to give you that hope. You can make it, but you have to let some people help you. If you can't help yourself, you have to let some people help you, and you can get out of it. Things can change, and you have to have hope.
Rich, Joe and I, my son-in-law, we were at the cigar bar. And, actually, we weren't at the cigar bar at the same time, but we had both been in there, and we were talking about it. And I go, do you notice anything interesting? He goes, yeah. He said it's full of retirees that are freaking bored out of their damn mind. It's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. They're just sitting there like toads, like bumps on a log. All they do is golf, and all they do is just sit there and just drink,
And that's other people's dream, and that ain't a dream.
Yeah. No, and here they, they earned all the money. They got the nest egg. they're on Boardwalk and Park Place, nice environments, little ranchettes or full-on ranches, and they are full-on depressed. And I was telling him, said, I'll cure that depression. Let's do some radical mission trips in Uganda. Let's go over with Dave Eubanks and do some outreaches in Burma and Syria, in Iraq. And I guarantee they'll feel like they're like teenagers. And again, the whole thing to get out of these funks, if you really want to. And listen, old guys, I'm 55, man. And sometimes, the devil say, this is it for you. Well, au contraire, Moses was 80 when he got his call. Abraham was, late 70s when he got it initially. When he was in his late 90s, then it was on like Donkey Kong. Yeah, the history of heroes is predominantly the history of youth, but there's a lot of people that intersected with Christ past their midlife crisis that went on to do incredible things for him. So look for that, man. Look for that new angle. Look for that new hope. It might just be going down to a homeless shelter and quit being around your rich, stupid buddies,
Yep.
and give, man, and it'll put a new edge on you, brother.
That's right, man. That's good. And so the reality is the first stage, I think, to getting out of depression is to having hope, what you were talking about. I think just to believe that it's not going to stay like that. And it's like the guy that asked Jesus, he said, if you can, Jesus said, if I can, all things are possible to him who believes. And so I think the first step to even getting out of depression is realizing there's hope. You don't have to stay there.
Yeah, and another thing, say that it looks like, say you have the hope, say you have the faith, say you're doing the exercise, and you're in this rough weather pattern. I mean, we got to be honest, Rich. Some of the stuff that some of these people went through, like David, like Joseph, several other folks, some of it went on for 10 to 30 years.
Yep.
There's got to come what the Puritans talk about is the divine jewel of contentment. Okay, you might not have all the bells and whistles that all your other Christian buddies do. You might not be flavor of the month on Instagram. You got to be content in just being a son. And again, not putting up with demonic crap or not putting up with not trying to undo what you did in regards to bad decisions. Do all that, fight against the devil, but if God is trying to fashion you into something, and this thing has taken 10 to 20 to 30 years, and you're not on top of the mountain singing with a bluebird on your shoulder, just get content that you're his and he's yours.
Yep.
In whatever state that you're in, and that's what I think's lost in this slushy, bubblegum laden evangelicalism is you get people who are not content just to be in fellowship with the Son. They want big cars, they want big vacations, they want crazy experiences. And the Puritans, they said that contentment is probably the crown jewel of a Christian experience. And you see Paul, when he's wanting to go to Rome, he's wanting to tackle the planet. God says, no, we're going to shut you down. And from the shutdown came 3/4 of the New Testament.
Yep.
That has impacted not only that first century church, but millions of Christians. And it all came from him being shut down. And in that shutdown, he wasn't discontent. He was content in the Lord. And then here comes this great flood of literature from the shutdown and from the contentment.
That's good.
And Christians don't know that. They don't talk about that. They don't want that.
Doug, I have a friend from Indonesia. I was just with him recently. His name's Paulus Wiratno. And he was a Muslim, converted to Christianity, and has planted over 1,100 churches. And the guy's super awesome. Personal friend of mine, great guy. He got diagnosed with sinus cancer, went to Singapore, went to his initial visit. It was him and 4 other guys. He told the Lord, I will not speak a negative word, and I will not complain. I'm going to worship you the whole time. I flew over there. I was with him. I went to go see him in the hospital. That dude wrote 3 books going through chemotherapy and radiation treatment. His face was burned from the radiation treatment because of the thyroids and everything. They're trying to. So he wrote 3 books, Doug, and check this out. He lived all the other 4 people died. And the doctor was a Christian and said, I will pay personally for all of your medication. That doctor paid for his medication. And he said, because my grandmother told me always take care of pastors. He lived, Doug. Not only did he live, he met the doctor years later, and the doctor told him, there was no way I thought you were going to make it. He's not just made it. He's cancer-free, no remission, no nothing. The dude's full on doing more for God than he ever did. And I thought that I was so impressed and so really honored to be his friend, to know somebody that went through a trial like that with that mindset, because that's a champion.
Well, here's a great point, Rich. I mean, aside from amazing testimony, is, what I've found that helped me and what's helped others is when we're going through, the meat grinder, is find somebody like that, if you can personally talk to them, because here's my point. It's like, if I want to be rich, I'm not going to ask my broke uncle how to get there.
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to talk to a rich person. If I want to weather storms, I want to talk to somebody who's gone through a way worse storm than I have, or at least, like you said, I mean, he writes 3 books while he's going through this.
One of the books was called "Why," and he talks like this: "Why am I still alive?" That's the name of his book. One of it. Is that awesome?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's beautiful, man. I like what you said about the contentment, that sometimes things are going to be tough, and I think, because when I went through my hardest time, we don't have time on this podcast, but I was mad at God. And that led to me getting some bad places in my head, And so, but he didn't do that. My friend was an example and a champion, led the way.
Well, I mean, Paul said, he goes, I've learned to be content in all circumstances. So, that don't come easy. You got to learn that.
Yeah.
And you got to unlearn a lot of crap. Again, you can't take your cue from culture. You can't learn that on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah. I mean, this is something that, again, and nobody talks about it, but it's the dark night of the soul. And if you're going to truly be used by God, if the contents of your ministry, your work, your life, and your legacy is going to be rich and intoxicating like a good wine, then you got to understand that stuff is not going to go from a squished grape to the bottle to the shelf within a week. No. You're going to be trampled. You're going to be bruised. Like Jeremiah said, you will be emptied from vessel to vessel. Some of the vessels will be lighter. Some of them are going to be deep, dark, and dank. But it's that richness of the experience that crushed grape goes through that makes it that $100, $500 bottle of wine when you're eating a filet mignon. It's not Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill that you can get, 5 gallons of it for like $6 or something like that. But again, that's the glide path. You got to ask yourself what kind of human you want to be.
Yeah.
Do you want to be rich? And I don't mean financially, but do you want to be rich, aromatic? You want to have an incredible taste left on whomever drinks of your wine, so to speak. Then it's going to involve darkness. It's going to involve crushing. You're going to have to be content to sit on a shelf for a while in the darkness, and it looks like everybody's overlooking you. But OMG, man, 20 years later, 30 years later, you're the most expensive bottle on the shelf.
Come on. Here's my last thought. The old song says, the world can't take my joy. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away.
It's a big difference between joy and happiness, too, man. Good stuff, brother.
Good, man.
What do you think?
It's good.
You think
I think it's encouraging.
Somebody.
I think it was challenging and encouraging. I do.
Yeah, Warriors and Wildmen. Subscribe. Follow us on Facebook while it lasts. And what else, Rick?
Like us, love us.
You're the closer.
Like us, love us, review us, send us a message. Subscribe to Warriors and Wildmen Tribe on our closed group on Facebook. Warriors and Wildmen.
Hey, and also, if I'm not responding to any of your questions or messages, I've been kicked off Facebook.
Again.
So we're trying to appeal it, but they ain't responded. So interesting stuff, folks. Interesting. Adios.
All
Thanks,
right, man.
Rich.
Good stuff. See you, Doug.